Welcome to day 2 of One Up Coding. So today we're going to be going over coding basics, and we're also going to review what we learned from last time. So yeah, we talked about variables, and if you think about variables, it's a container, and that container has two labels, one of which says what's supposed to be inside, and the other is just the name of the container. And so how do we use that in code? Well, we have this is the meat of the code, basically. This is the meat of the code that we're going to be editing. And let's check out. I talked about an IDE last time, and which one we're going to be using. We're going to be using an IDE called Codiva. I have it open already. I'm going to close it. Codiva.io. And the reason we're going to be using this is because it can run online. Now, you might not have an account already, so go ahead and create an account. But I already have an account, so I'm going to sign in. It's really easy. You can use any email you want. You can even use a school email. So I'm going to type in my email and password. And so yeah, this is our text editor, what we're going to be using to code with. And we're going to create a new project. Let's call it tutorial. And a project is just your code. It's what you're going to use to solve a problem or to take an input and produce an output. And we're going to create a file. So a file is just a part of your code that does something. And that's what a class is. It's the class is also known as the file, and it's just a piece of your code. So let's call this tutorial.java. Now you might, when you're looking through your computer's files, you'll see .txt, .png. That's just the type of file you're going to be using. Now, you might think, oh, isn't coding just txt, right? It's just a text file. But in order to use it as a Java file, we just call it .java. And there you go. So don't worry about directory. It'll create it by itself. So now we have our tutorial class or tutorial code. And the public main function, this is called a function. This is the name of the function. Now what the main function does is it's the first thing that runs when you run your program. So let's go back here. We're gonna copy and paste this code. So you can write this in yourself. Actually, here. Let's write this in ourselves. You can get rid of this. I will go over what this exact thing does later. So let's create a variable, or basically a container. So the container has what you're going to be putting inside of it, a string, right? In my case, the name of your container. Now it could be any name you want. You can have it be, chicken nuggets, as long as it's one word. That's the only requirement. It has to be in one word. So I'm going to title it my name. And because my name is two words, I can combine them by making the first letter of the second word uppercase. So, and we're going to give it a value. Now, how do you do that? You simply put an equal sign and the value you want. My name is Luke. And you're going to end that with a semicolon. A semicolon just means it's the end of this line. I don't want to add anything more to this line. Now, what if you want to change your name later? What if you had a sudden, life crisis and you wanted to change your name all of a sudden? So you can do that by simply saying the name of your variable. In my case, it's my name. It could be chicken nugget. And then all I'm going to do is put an equal sign again, and then the name, my new name. My new name is Bob. All this does is it takes Luke, throws it out of the container, and it gets the new name Bob and puts it inside of the container. And we can also create an integer variable. Now, because coders are really lazy and we don't like typing a lot, we abbreviate some things. So we don't want to write integer all out. We can simply write int, and everyone that's a coder will know what this means. So int means our variable is going to have a number inside. So my age, your age is a number. And you're going to have an equal sign and then the number you want. Right now I'm 6 years old. Okay, so yeah. Again, one more thing, the class tutorial, all that is the name of the file. So if you name your file, chickennuggets.java. You can tell I'm really hungry. Then you'll name your class chicken nuggets here. Okay, so yeah, in the slides, this is how you're gonna declare a variable. So you're gonna have your data type, right? What type of thing you want to put inside your variable, your container, the name of your container or the name of your variable, and then equal sign, which means you're gonna put this value inside of this variable, and then the value, as well as a semicolon. And the semicolon just means I'm done. This is the end of the line. I don't want to add anything else to this. So if you want to edit it later, you do not need to include the data type again. All you have to use is use the variable name, because you already the variable already knows what data type it has. Okay, so what if we want to add things together? Well, in this code, we have our class, right? Don't worry about public. We have a class variable. That means the name of the file that this code is in is variables.java. The main function, which means this is the first thing will happen when your code is run. Integer, we're going to create an integer, my age, that will have a value of 5, an integer titled years. And then we're going to create a new variable that will be the sum of the other two variables. So all we have to do then is say integer age after 3 years. You don't have to name this something super long. And usually coders try to make their variable names really short, so you don't have to type it very often. And then you're going to set it equal to my age, which is 5, and then years, which is 3. Now why don't you just put 5 plus 3 here? And this does give you 8. Well, what if we don't know our age yet, or we don't know our years yet? We want to store things in these variables so that we can use them easily later. And so this will give us 8, because my age is 5 and years is 3. So now let's make a little coding example. I'm gonna get rid of my name stuff. Int years. Let's say that's 5. Now what if we changed our years, the number of years we want to say, to a different number? So let's say the number's 2 as well. So that means that if I wanted to create a variable, that would be the sum of my age after years. If I want it to equal my age plus years, this value will equal 8, because it's 2 plus 6. And the reason it's not 5 plus 6 is because when we said this, we got rid of this 5 value. So we basically took away 5 and we put 2 inside that container. And so you want to keep track of how you're changing your variables. What if you want to make sure that you don't change it accidentally or something. So yeah, my age after how many number of years I want will equal the sum of those two. Sorry if I'm going quick. If you have any questions after this, feel free to ask it in the chat, or go to the Google Classroom, or go to my email and ask me there, and I'll try my best to help you. So what if we want to add strings? Now strings are funny because if you add them together, it doesn't add the values together, obviously. It just puts them right next to each other. That means when you create a string that is the sum of those two, it actually says just 5, 3. So if you change all these to strings, my age is 5 and then my age is 3, that means when I sum them together, this value is going to be 5, 3. It just puts those two strings together. So if you ever want to add strings together instead of just adding numbers, this is the way to do it. You just use the plus button, or the plus symbol. Okay, So assignment operators. Now that sounds like crazy, right? What is an assignment operator? These assignment operators are really just ways to change your variable. So if you have an integer, right? What if you don't want to add two variables together? All you want to say is you have an integer, my age, which is 5, right? What if I want to change my age so it's equal to itself, which is 5, plus another number? Well, you could say integer, or my age equals my age plus 10, right? So it takes your age, which is 5, adds 10 to it, and then stores that into my age. Now what is my age here? After doing all this, it's 15, because it takes 5, adds 10 to it, and then puts it back into itself. Now because we're going to be changing numbers a lot, coders actually made a simpler way to do this. Instead of making it equal to itself plus 10, you can say plus equals 10. All the plus equals 10 does is it adds 10 to my age and then puts it into my age variable. So after I use this, my age here will be 15 after this line of code, line 5. So you can also do minus equals, which subtracts 10. You can do times equals. You can do what are other ways? Divide equals, or you can do other weird math functions. Yeah, there's a math function. It's called modulus equals, or modulus. So modulus, it sounds crazy. It's like some weird math term. It's the remainder. So 7 modulus 2 is 7 divided by 2, and the remainder of that. So 7 divided by 2 has a remainder of 1. 4 modulus 3 will have a value of 1, and 4 modulus 2 has a value of 0. Now why would you ever use modulus, right? It feels weird to ever use a remainder. Well, if you want to check that a number is even, an even number, you can say modulus 2 and then find the remainder. And the remainder will be 0 if for any even number, because the remainder of dividing any even number by 2 is 0. Alright. So those are assignment operators, ways to change your integer variables or float variables by certain amounts. So let's go into the console. What is the console? It's a way for you, as the coder, to communicate with your computer. And it's used in basically every single coding language. It's essential, really. And how do you use the console? If you've seen in my previous coding examples, you'll see that I've said system.out.println and parentheses and semicolon and something inside here. You see me use that a lot. Now why? It's because what this function does is if you write it all out, it'll print out whatever's inside these parentheses, whatever you put inside. So if you put a variable inside, it'll print whatever's inside that variable or inside that container. Now what do I mean by print? It just the computer actually types it out into the console for you. And so where is the console? Where is it? Well, let's try running this program. Last we left off, I'm sorry, I was blocking the screen, the output with my face, so I'm going to show you guys the output again. So I don't have it on me, so I'm just gonna print it out here. We can print out a string, right, Luke, and so it'll print it to the console. And the reason you have all these consoles is it creates a new console every time you run the program. So let's close all of these. What if you want to print a number? You could put it inside the string, but you could also just print out the number and it'll be fine. It prints out 5. You can print out a variable. Let's say we want to create an integer, my age equals 5. Then we could print out my age, and all it does is this print function, or println. I'll explain the difference between the two. They'll take the value inside this variable, which is 5, inside this container. It shows it to the console, right? It prints it to the console, and then it puts it back inside the container. So it doesn't change the variable. So yes, system.out.println. It could take strings, it could take integers, and it's really just a way for the programmer to speak back and forth with the computer. You can do addition or multiplication inside, it doesn't matter. You can put integers inside. And you could also manage with variables. So now if you remember this example from the beginning of the video, it has a file named variables.java. It has a main function, which is just the first thing that runs. It has two variables, one that's called my name, and it has a string that says Luke, one that has another variable called my age, it has an integer that's 5, and I print these two out. So now we're going to learn about escape sequences. Now what is escape sequences? Coders love to name these fancy terms, but really they're very simple. What if you want to type in an enter, a tab, a backspace, or some special character? Well, you can just press tab to type the tab button, but there's a special way to do it. It's called an escape sequence. So, oh man, I feel like cutting the silent part out of the live stream. So what if we want to type out hello on one line and then world on the next line? Well, we can type in \n and then world. What this does is as your println function is going through the string, if it sees a backslash, okay, so it takes the character right after the backslash and it does something special. So \n, it prints a new line, and new line, all that means is it prints an enter button. And better than me explaining, I could just show you what it looks like. So without my face in the way, you can see hello prints in one line. It presses enter by saying \n, and then it prints out world. So what if you want to type in a tab? Well, you could do \t, and it only takes the character right after it, so you don't have to worry about what comes after the backslash. But what if you want to type in a backslash? Because wouldn't typing a backslash trigger some random escape sequence? So you could type in. So the solution to that is typing in two backslashes. That prints a backslash. That prints only one backslash. So you have to be careful. If you want to type 5 backslashes, you're actually going to include 10 backslashes in when you type it here, because half of them will just be used to type out the backslash. So that brings me to the point. What is the difference between print system.println and system.print? System.println, all it stands for is print line new, which means it's basically println is basically print system.out.print with a \n at the end. Now why is this useful? Well, let me show you. Let's print this out 3 times. With system.out.println, it includes a new line after. It presses enter after every hello world. What if we did not include that? What if we just said system.out.print in all of these? Then it connects them right after each other. It never presses enter. And so this is really hard for us to read, and we want to make sure we include ln so that we can actually read this. Now I don't need those anymore, so I'm just keep moving. So let's review. I'm sorry if I went over this quickly. I made an editing mistake the first time where I did not include audio, so I had to redo it in a short amount of time. So yeah, let's review. A variable again, it's just a container with a data type and a name and a value. So if the way we declare it is we say the data type first, we say what's the value gonna be like, then we say the variable name, and then we say =, and the value that we want to put inside of it. So the =, all it does is it takes this value and puts it inside of the variable name. We talked about the console. It's how we communicate back and forth with the computer. We talked about how you can add variables. If you add integers, it adds the value. 5 + 3 is 8. If you add strings, it adds them right after each other. 5 + 3 is 53. Now, system.out.println or system.out.print is the way is the main way Java programmers can communicate with their console and back and vice versa. Escape sequences sound complicated, but really they're just for us to print out special characters, such as the enter, tab, backspace, or slash key. So, yes. Now, I'm not going to leave you guys yet. I have some example problems. You can pause the video now. These are some example problems. So, you're going to use variables to add the numbers 5 and 6 so that the answer is 56. You're going to print a rectangle of any symbol or character you want using using the console with a width 4 and a height 3. And you can only use one system.out.print statement. So go ahead and pause the video now, and when you come back, I'll be doing the problems. Okay, let's do these problems. Okay, again, I don't have these answers prepared beforehand, so you guys are gonna solve me solve them real time. So now you can add, you can create integers. 5 equals 5, integers 6 equals 6, and you can add these however you want. Get a sum that equals 56. But the easier way to do it is to simply make them all strings instead. If you remember, strings are just a bunch of characters. Now they can be one character if you want to. Now the thing is, when you add strings, it doesn't take the integers inside them and add them together. All it does is it puts them one after another. So 5 plus 6 in this case becomes 56. And to check that this is working, let's print that out to the console. Let's print our sum. Now to see if it's working. Am I lagging? Oh, okay, there it is. 56. I was lagging for a second there. 56. So that's how you do the problem. Pretty simple. And if it's not simple, or you couldn't solve it at first, that's almost 100% because I explained it horribly and too quickly. So you can pause the video and rewatch the parts I went over this on, or you can ask me a question on Classroom, on Gmail, or on YouTube chat, and I will hopefully answer it there. Let's print a rectangle of, what character do you guys want to use? I'm going to use star, which is shift 8, because, I don't know, it looks cool. So we can only use system.out.print, or println, doesn't matter in this case, only once. So how do you do that? Well, if you remember escape sequences, we could type the enter button without typing out system.out.println again. So let's print out a width of 4 stars. We're going to print it out again, and then again. And that way, we'll have printed 3 rows of 4 stars. And let's see if this works. Oh, I got an error. Okay, so whenever you get an error, you have to figure out what the error is. And I forgot a semicolon. Whoa, I forgot a semicolon. Okay, let's try this again. There you go. A rectangle with width of 4 and height of 3. So that's the rest. I'm gonna spend. That's basically the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.